चलने का हौसला नहीं, रुकना मुहाल कर दिया। चलने का हौसला नहीं,
रुकना मुहाल कर दिया।
रुकना मुहाल कर दिया। इश्क के इस सफर ने तो मुझको निढाल कर दिया।
वाह 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 वाह।
Walking in H8, Islamabad's largest and oldest graveyard, one comes across a grave which is adorned with flowers, notes, and personal messages. This is the grave of Parveen Shakir, who passed away in 1994 in Islamabad in a car accident. Why do people remember her still after 30 years of her passing? What makes her such a lasting legacy? Who was Parveen Shakir? This is what we will explore in our video today. Affectionately dubbed as the poetess of fragrance, it would be remiss to not talk about Parveen Shakir when one talks about important Urdu literary figures. Parveen Shakir is known for her exploration of human emotions, profound expressions, and for cementing a woman's voice, and for exploring female identity through her poems. Most of Shakir's work deals with romantic themes, but a wider and more in-depth glance of her poetic canon reveals more profound themes like female sexuality, identity, and womanhood. Parveen Shakir was born on 24th November in 1952 in Karachi, Pakistan. She was the second daughter of her parents, Sayyid Shakir Hussain Zaidi and Afzalun Nisa. She started writing poetry from an early age, and her main inspiration was her father, who was also a poet. Shakir had a bachelor's degree in English literature and a master's in linguistics. She taught at a college for 9 years before she pursued the civil services examination in 1982. Parveen Shakir married her cousin in 1976, but the marriage ended in a divorce less than a decade later. There is much speculation of her personal life and how her experiences of love and loss shaped her poetry. She experienced heartbreak in her youth, which shaped her poetic expression for much of her life. Perhaps this is the reason why her work resonates with people so acutely till now. Parveen Shakir published her first collection of poetry when she was 25 years old, and it was titled Khushbu. It received great literary acclaim because of her unapologetic manner of writing and exploration of the female identity, especially the sentiments of young girls, which had previously been missing from Urdu poetry. Ahmed Farah said this about Parveen Shakir.
परवीन बहुत ही प्यारी शायरा थी, शायरी के एतबार से भी और शख्सियत के एतबार से भी। उन्होंने बहुत कम अरसे में बहुत ज़्यादा शोहरत हासिल की और वो इतनी मकबूल हुई कि अपनी न सिर्फ ख़वातीन शायरों में वो सबसे ज़्यादा मकबूल थीं, बल्कि अपने अहद के मर्द शुअरा के मुकाबले में भी उनकी मकबूलियत बहुत ज़्यादा थी.
Parveen's self-perception takes center stage. She describes herself as a girl rather than a woman, a girl who longs for genuine affection and embodies youthful charm. The use of the term girl echoes a larger trend in female Urdu poetry in post-1947 era, embracing innocence and challenging traditional gender roles. Here is an example of Parveen Shakir talking about a young girl's emotions. नन्ही लड़की, साहिल के इतने नज़दीक, रेत से अपने घर ना बना, कोई सरकश मौज इधर आई तो तेरे घर की बुनियादें तक बह जाएंगी, और फिर उनकी याद में तू सारी उम्र उदास रहेगी. Parveen's literary collection extended beyond ghazals, which showcases her ability to portray a myriad of emotions in prose poetry. Among her work, she intricately categorizes these prose pieces, talking about the human condition and the human expression. In the poem Bun Jungle, Parveen Shakir talks about the world as a metaphorical, tangled wilderness where themes of loss, longing, and pessimistic thoughts are embodied by lurking wolves. अगर बन में रहना मुकद्दर है और ये एक तयशुदा उम्र भी है कि हर बन में बस भेड़िए मुंतज़िर है मेरे, तो मैं सोचती हूँ कि इस सूरत हाल में क्यों ना फिर अपनी मर्जी के जंगल में ही जा बसूं. The following is another couplet from one of her poems. लड़कियों के दुख अजब होते हैं, सुख उससे अजीब, हंस रही हैं और काजल भीगता है साथ साथ. Despite this, there is great debate among many feminists whether Shakir's work should be considered feminist or not. Shakir's message of standing by one's love, even when the other person has not stood their ground, resonates with some as submissive and regressive. However, what is certain is that Parveen Shakir's work lives on in the hearts and souls of many people who connect with it, and she has established a lasting legacy. Parveen Shakir was one of the first female voices in Urdu poetry. Her poetry encompassed both ishq-e-hakiki and ishq-e-majazi. It is known that her poetry reflects her own personal love story, which was never reciprocated, though she never publicly talked about it. She gave a unique feminist voice to Urdu poetry through her writing. Her feminist voice was more from an Eastern feminist lens, where being a woman meant declaring your love unapologetically. For her, even if love is not reciprocated, one should be unapologetic about their feelings. And her poetry reflects that love, even if one-sided, is a complete entity of its own. However, she did draw a sharp line in loving unapologetically and losing one's self-respect. Born in an era marked by an exponential feminist wave, Shakir uses her voice to talk about female victimization and the fight of women against patriarchal norms. These themes are prevalent in her verses in the poem Sirf Ek Ladki, where she describes a young girl's yearning to break free away from social constraints. Embracing the characteristics of 20th century poetry, Shakir uses modernist themes and techniques of realism, confessionalism, and emotionalism. Through her free verse compositions and her fearless exploration of bold themes, Shakir asserts herself in this literary landscape and paves the way for a more inclusive and empowered discourse on femininity. The following are couplets from different ghazals and nazms by Parveen Shakir. मिलते हुए दिलों के बीच और था फैसला कोई, उसने मगर बिछड़ते वक्त और सवाल कर दिया. मुमकिन फैसलों में एक हिजर का फैसला भी था, हमने तो एक बात की, उसने कमाल कर दिया. मेरे लबों पे मोहर थी, पर मेरे शीशाए रूह ने तो शहर के शहर को मेरा वाक़िफ़े हाल कर दिया. कैसे कह दूं कि मुझे छोड़ दिया है उसने, बात तो सच है मगर बात है रुसवाई की.